Sometimes it's just come so naturally to us. We don't even know that we're, perhaps a good way of putting this is we're cursing our future. You can bless your future or curse your future. So watch what you say. I think I love where you say we need to send out. Well, you see, I feel that in that instance, God was declaring I am everything because I am presently. Mine is the other interpretation of it. It is what comes after the word, I am. I think you're calling into your life. That's something of our message, that you don't know what you know, God's vision for your life is greater than yours. And that is what I have witnessed. I mean, I never had a dream 13 years ago that I would be sitting here with you or we would be at the arena where I used to go watch the Rockets play. And so Joel Osteen received $4.4 million in COVID loans intended for small businesses while residing in a $10.5 million house. His church only allocates 1% for charity. He teaches God wants you rich, but sells tickets to listen to him for $15. His television show is viewed by millions, but he says nothing about sin or Jesus. We're ordinary people. It's merely speaking about having a blessed life, being a blessing to other individuals, being joyful, possessing good relationships. When critics labeled him as fake, he purchased another house for $3 million. With plummeting attendance and growing criticism, Osteen's smile of perfection can't mask the spreading cracks. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel Spark Science, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. Born on March 5, 1963, in Houston, Texas, Joel Osteen was one of 6 children in a household centered on church, God, and family. His dad, John Osteen, had already broken away from the Southern Baptist tradition by then and begun something different. It all started after a dramatic change in 1958 when Joel's sister Lisa was born disabled. That was it. John and his wife Dodie became involved in faith healing and they became charismatic Christians. Only a year later in 1959, they started Lakewood Church in a dilapidated feed store. It seated only 234 people, but something mighty was taking off. By the late 1970s, that little space had become a burgeoning church with more than 5,000 members. Joel grew up observing all this. While his brothers were either evangelizing or ministering, Joel was quiet. He didn't seek the spotlight. He liked serving in the background. In 1981, he graduated from high school at Humble High. Then he attended Oral Roberts University to major in radio and TV. But after a little over a year, he quit. He didn't need a degree. He wanted to create something with his dad. Joel, only 19 years old, made a very big decision. In 1982, he dropped out of college and returned to Houston to assist in the TV ministry of the church. He began the television ministry that year. He began small, 1 local network and 1 national cable station. For 17 years, Joel remained behind the camera. He produced, cut, directed, and even kept an eye on what his dad wore each Sunday. He ensured each broadcast was perfect. He wanted Lakewood to be as polished as any Hollywood program. While others spoke, Joel kept pushing buttons, flipping switches, and cutting film. He received no training as a preacher, and no theological degree. But he was learning everything. Editing scores of his father's sermons taught him more than any school could. Despite this, he still wouldn't get on stage. His father would encourage him to preach, and Joel would reply, "No. You're the preacher," he said to him. "I'll make you look good on TV." Then everything changed in January 1999. On the 17th, Joel agreed. He preached his first sermon. 6 days after, his dad suddenly died of a heart attack. Joel's inaugural sermon became the last sermon his dad would ever hear. Without warning, Joel was thrust into the position of preaching to 6,000 church members. He didn't want it. He didn't feel prepared. He hadn't preached before. People did not believe in him. Yet, something clicked. Then, around 8,000 individuals visited Lakewood every week. Big for Houston, but not for the country. 5 years later, all of that changed. By 2004, weekly attendance had grown to between 25,000 and 30,000. That was not merely big. It was the largest church in America. And it didn't occur by happenstance. Joel doubled the television airtime budget. He selected the most coveted time slots in major metropolitan areas. He covered highways with billboards. But above all, his sermons were different. They were plain, inspiring, full of promise. People listened and they remained. The crowds became so large that Lakewood's 8,000-seat building just wasn't sufficient. Joel started speaking of something which sounded like the impossible. He stated that one day they would be preaching to 100,000 people each weekend. Many people laughed. But then there was the boldest move yet. In 2003, Lakewood made a deal with the city of Houston to lease the Compaq Center. It was the former home of the Houston Rockets. This was no humble church auditorium. It was a 16,000-seat sports arena. The lease alone cost $12 million for 30 years with the option of extending another 30 years at $22 million. But the jolt came from the cost of renovation. Lakewood invested almost $95 million to renovate the arena. That's about $158 million nowadays. It was built in 15 months. They opened up the arena and built 5 floors within it. Waterfalls, miles of new carpet, 200,000 square feet of space, broadcast studios, classrooms. Everything needed to be brand new. Folks couldn't believe it. A basketball stadium becoming a house of worship. It had never been attempted such a way. In 2010, Lakewood purchased the building for cash for $7.5 million. But the real change actually happened even sooner on July 16, 2005. That was opening day. The new Lakewood Church opened and all the seats were occupied. 16,000 individuals attended in person. Millions more saw on television. For most Houstonians, where they used to see NBA legends play was now a church with lights, music, and good vibes. And the crowd just kept expanding. Attendance weekly soon topped 40,000. Television broadcasts touched an estimated 10 million people in more than 100 nations. This was no longer a church. It was a movement, a media empire. And Joel Osteen was right in the middle of it. What set Joel apart was his message. He did not preach brimstone and fire. He did not emphasize sin or judgment. Rather, he spoke of hope, of dreams, of believing in yourself and trusting God's will. The critics referred to it as Christian light. But his followers did not care. They liked his smile and were strengthened by what he had to say. He informed people they weren't broken, that better days were ahead, and they listened to him. Early on, Joel understood the power of the media. Lakewood's TV broadcast reached 92% of American homes in a few short years. That's nearly every home in America. Approximately 10 million Americans listened each week and more than that watched from more than 100 nations on earth. By 2017, the media work of the church cost $25 million annually, but it was worth it. Lakewood opened a Sirius XM radio station. Joel began hosting Night of Hope events at stadiums. Wherever he went, tens of thousands attended. And it paid off because his message was simple, clear, and positive. When Joel Osteen published Your Best Life Now in October 2004, everybody didn't think much about it selling much. He was a first-time writer and a minister, not a public figure. Yet in only 3 months, the book had sold more than 500,000 copies. By May 2005, it had reached 1 million. That was remarkable in itself. But then it remained on the New York Times bestseller list for over 200 consecutive weeks, nearly 4 years. In all, it sold more than 4 million copies around the globe. It wasn't a Christian book anymore. It was a cultural bestseller. The combination of religion, inspiration, and plain hope resonated with church members to those who never opened a Bible. Joel's conversational style was easy to read. His concepts of living a better life seemed authentic. That book didn't only make him a household name. It revolutionized the way religious writers wrote and marketed books forever. But Joel did not stop